Welcome everybody to the first NFL recap show of the 2023 season. I almost said 2022. I am your host, Actively Lazy. With me is Joe the Brain Matz. Mush brain, if anything, lately. I don't know about you anymore, man. How are we gonna start out this season, Joe? You let me know. Are you team meathead or are you not?
I mean, if it's one or the other, I got to be team meathead for sure.
Okay, all right. Team Meathead, Lions 21, Kansas City Chiefs 20. That's what started the season out. An upset nonetheless. I won't call it one of the biggest upsets of week one because it's actually not. But the Lions did go into Kansas City and win outright 21-20. One of the wildest things ever. Dan Campbell made a great play call and then turned around and made a stupid play call.
Well, so it goes. In fairness to Dan Campbell, he at least consistently makes he consistently hits at least 50%, which doesn't sound impressive, but if you watch enough of these games, I mean, on Facebook, you pointed out the decision that Vrabel made in the Tennessee game that I'm sure we'll get to. So he didn't do anything that bad, but he does always.
I don't know, man. Hold on.
A little bit more.
Not. Well, put it this way: accepting the penalty and allowing the Chiefs an extra play that resulted in a touchdown when they obviously would have conceded either to a field goal or a punt, I think was a bad call.
It's pretty bad. I mean, in general, never give Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid an extra play.
Where have you been?
There's your analysis for this game.
The robot outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes was missing Travis Kelce, so there's that.
Well, I mean, the reality is, too, they win that game if the Kansas City players catch the passes. I mean, specifically Tony, because his led to a touchdown for Detroit. Yeah. But, I mean, Kansas City's defense without Chris Jones, pretty good in this game. And it really is just the receivers weren't good enough. That's it for Kansas City.
Houston, Texas traveled to the Baltimore Ravens on our Sunday slate at 1 p.m. Houston starting C.J. Stroud in his first career start. The score was 25-9 Ravens. Any surprises there? Any positives out of this game?
I mean, more or less what I think we all expected. Stroud doesn't throw any picks. That's good. He takes 5 sacks, which is, if you're taking 5 sacks, you may have as well have thrown a pick. But, nothing really to see here. Baltimore, though, probably the biggest news is just, hey, J.K. Dobbins, another season-ending injury. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen for him. And I don't know the severity, but I know the Ravens had at least 4 or 5 starters knocked out of this game. So hopefully Dobbins is the only one that's an extreme length of time. I haven't looked that up yet, but as the actual gameplay, I think it's what we all thought.
Yeah, Ravens about 4 or 5 starters out. C.J. Stroud throwing 44 times kind of gives me some pause, especially when the game was relatively close until the midway through the third quarter. But yeah, so wasn't the most awful debut, but the result that we expected, a result that some people didn't expect. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the one positive really for Houston is the defense was pretty good, actually. I mean, they got 4 sacks on Lamar, then 25 points when your offense isn't really doing anything with the ball. I think that D'Amico's going to have a solid defense on his hand there.
Was the defense good or was the Ravens offense bad? That is the question.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with week one. You don't know.
Oh, I think I know. And I will definitely tell you.
I also think
it's the Ravens offense.
Week one knew, a lot of if you have a new OC like Baltimore, there's a reason for what's happening. If you're, Cleveland, Cincinnati, you got a few less excuses here.
Joe, I saw Lamar Jackson under center. It's Baltimore. Trust me. That should never happen. Cleveland Browns hosting the Cincinnati Bengals with their newly crowned $275 million quarterback, Joe Burrow, in a hole because you were terrible. Cleveland wins 24-3. All I can say is to everybody who wanted to at me when I said they should have drafted a left tackle instead of Jamar Chase, up yours. I'm still saying that. I'm still alive, baby.
I mean, you can keep saying it. I feel like the last 2 seasons is enough for me to continue to be on the Jamar Chase side of this. But, I mean, that's the frustrating thing, though, is that every year it's like, oh, hopefully the offensive line is better. And they probably were, a little bit better last year than they were the year before. But it's the
No,
same issues every year.
no.
Obviously, part of it's, Burrow's probably a little rusty. He's still a little banged up, but there's no actual excuse for being as bad as they were yesterday. Obviously, there's going to be at least one, if maybe two teams, I'd say, that you could argue had a worse passing performance than Cincinnati. But I mean, yeah, if you're the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and you're only throwing for 82 yards, well, and then taking 15 yards of sacks, that's pretty bad. For Cleveland, upside, Jim Schwartz looks like immediate improvement on this defense. Downside, Deshaun Watson looks like more or less the same guy as last year to me. So we'll see if that improves. But if the defense is awesome and Nick Chubb runs for 100 yards every week, Cleveland can hang. So,
yeah, I will say this: if there was ever a time where I want to use a weather excuse, my man Watson looked like McNabb. How many balls did he throw into the ground, man? Like, what is going on? Also, to your take on the defense, did you see the Myles Garrett clip where he's like sitting there doing crossovers before the snap?
no, I did not see that.
I will send it to you after the show. It is absolutely hilarious. Takeaways from that is that you get what you pay for. $275 million and 3 points. Let's go. The upset of the week for me, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Tom Brady walked into Minnesota and came out with the win 20-17. I don't even know what to make of this because when you look at the stats, there's no reason why the Vikings should have lost this game except for on the scoreboard. What in the world happened in this game?
I mean, my very simple explanation would just be regression to the mean. This was the team that was so lucky all of last season, 11-0 in one-score games. And what do you know? Last two games they played in the playoffs in week one, they lose the one-score game. To your point, Kevin Cole, formerly of PFF, he does a thing where he adjusts scores to try to look at the overall picture, what the score you'd expect. And his adjusted score says the Vikings should have won this game. So,
sure.
Are the Vikings better than the Buccaneers? Probably, but not enough where, a couple things go the wrong way and they can lose. And yeah, I think that's going to be normal for the Vikings because I think that was like a 7-8 win team that lucked into 13 last year. They might be a 7-8 win team that is unlucky and wins 6 games this year, which might actually be the best case scenario because then they can move on from Cousins and aim for something higher. But good for Baker and Bowles. I don't really expect anything to keep up for Tampa Bay. So, enjoy the win while you can.
That needs to be trademarked. Baker and Bowles. there's some possibility there. Baker and Bowles. Titans, Saints. One of the weirdest games, and we can get to that call. And I'll let you take over when we get there. But Titans 15, Saints 16. Still trying to figure out what I watched. Tannehill aged overnight. Man, he looked bad. I was at one point I really was asking if Malik Willis could come in just to give the offense some kind of spark, man. Like he just looked really slow. I mean, he couldn't outrun anybody actually. Cam Jordan ran him down, which I don't know if I would consider Cam Jordan fleet of foot, but it doesn't look really good for the Titans this year if this is the version of Tannehill that they're going to roll out.
I mean, yeah, you can say, the Saints have had a good defense the last few years. That's probably going to continue to be true this season. But, I mean, he was atrocious. I mean, 3 picks, took 3 sacks. For whatever worth you put in QBR, 10.3 out of a possible 100. So that's pretty brutal. I mean, the reality is if he's mediocre instead of bad, they win the game. So that's pretty rough. Yeah, I mean, the Titans have kind of just been – it's been a matter of time for them all this time.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry will eventually slow down. He still looked pretty good in this game from what we saw. Tannehill was only going to play at a high level or high for him level for a certain amount of time. And, yeah, I think time is up.
What do you make of Will Levis not on the starting roster?
I mean, I don't think it's a good sign. I wouldn't overly read into it. I think he's a guy we all thought was still relatively raw in a lot of ways.
I thought he was
But
terrible.
yeah, I mean, also, yeah, not a guy that we wanted to pick too high either. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing with Tennessee too is, they've taken quarterbacks the last 2 years, which you'd say, well, that's smart because again, Tannehill is okay and only going to get worse. But I'm not sure they drafted the actual replacement for him yet. So who knows there? And then yeah, the decision by Mike Vrabel. Sadly, I haven't been able to look up the actual stats on how bad the go for it, not go for it decision was. But 4th and 6 on the New Orleans 11, down 4 with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, he chose to kick the field goal.
And Titans backers say, whoa. Titans backers at +3.5 thank him for that.
Right. I mean, listen, if it's later on revealed that he's been betting on the games, Pete Rose style, then hey, fantastic choice. But if it's under 5 minutes to me and it's a reasonable 4th and go situation, which 4th and 6 from the 11, I think that falls into it. You have to go for it. I mean, even if there was more time, I would probably say go for it because worst case, assuming Tannehill didn't throw a 4th pick, which I guess, fair to wonder, do you give the ball to the Saints back inside their 10, inside their 15, and you try and force a stop and get the ball back again?
Yeah, they were struggle bus driving.
Yeah, so it's not a surprise when it's just over 2 minutes left that you never saw the ball again. So, I mean, that's an unconscionable decision to me. If I was a Titans fan, I would have been livid. But, those are the choices you make. Last year, they lost week 1 because Brian Daboll decided to go for a 2. He decided to be aggressive. Titans couldn't come down and make a field goal. They started 0-1 this year. Mike Vrabel, chance to be aggressive, chose to kick the field goal, never saw the ball again. So, again, I always say lean towards being aggressive. I'd rather lose fighting than taking the points.
I agree. Falcons hosted the Panthers in Bryce Young's first game. Falcons won 24-10. Look, man, I'll go ahead and say I am not happy with the Falcons. I don't understand how you have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, and like the stat line for these guys is absolutely disgusting. And it's not like the Panthers defense was good. They literally don't game plan for their best players. I don't understand it. I hate Arthur Smith.
So you don't think Tyler Algier is the best player in that team?
No, I don't, unfortunately, but apparently they do. Like, especially when you look at how Jalen Carter did his first game, and then the fact that you gave 15 carries to Algier and you didn't do anything really to get Bijan in the offense, besides that one amazing play that he made.
Incredible.
Like if you drafted him to be a receiver, then sure, but like I don't like Arthur Smith. I'm out on him. I never really was a big fan in the first place, but you gotta get your playmakers ball. I don't care about not having no pass protection. You still only ran the man 10 times, and clearly he needs more than 10 carries. Like, what are we doing? You're playing the Panthers. They're not good. Go ahead, Joe.
I don't have quite the same amount of issue with it as you do, just because I mean, yeah, I think at a certain point in this season, I would hope that we see those numbers swap because I do like Tyler Algier. I think he's pretty good. Again, if you saw the pass where Bijan caught it and he scored the touchdown, he's not pretty good. He's legitimately a special player. So, yeah, as the season goes on and you face better competition as well, I would hope it shifts more to Bijan. I mean, the passing game stuff, though, that does remain extremely frustrating where you have guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and London had one target and Pitts had one really nice catch down the field for 34 yards, and then otherwise he had 2 targets for 10 yards. So yeah. I don't know how much of it's Ritter, how much, to your point, I think the offensive line was not great in pass protection. And I do think Carolina does a good job of pressuring the passer. But again, there's the harsh limitations on your team if you can't pass the ball. And it's not that they don't have the playmakers. So it's Ritter, O-line, and scheme. You got to figure it out some way or another to get more out of this. Panthers, hey, Bryce Young throws a couple picks. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. You know, that team looks similar to they did last year as well, where they were effective running the ball, but their O-line bad in pass protection, and they have no playmakers in the passing game. I mean, Hayden Hurst is the top target, and that might be a season-long trend. So it's going to be rough on offense. It's going to be rough on Bryce Young, but I'm confident in Bryce Young and this coaching staff to figure it out as much as they can this season. But I think next year is when you're hoping for more.
If you draft a running back in the top 10 nowadays,
well, right. If you draft a tight end in the top 5,
I expect, if you draft the tight end in the top 5, you draft a running back in the top 10, I expect to see them featured. This is year two of Kyle Pitts in this system, and the second time that I've tuned into a game for the entirety of the game, and there's no freaking effort to get him the ball. There is no effort whatsoever to get him the ball. It doesn't matter about the blocking. You can scheme that open. This man had Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback for X amount of years. He schemed people open. You're an offensive coordinator turned head coach. Scheme them open. You are a professional play caller. Scheme them open. I don't want to hear about blocking. I don't want to hear about this and that. Scheme them open. It's that simple. And fans make too many excuses for these sorry play callers. Too many excuses. Bijan Robinson is a top 10 running back pick. You passed over a generational defensive talent in Jalen Carter for Bijan Robinson to throw him the ball 6 times and run him 10 times in his first game. You just wasted a pick. What are you doing? You're playing the Panthers. You're not playing a top team.
The one defense I will make of Arthur Smith is Marcus Mariota was, I believe, the most inaccurate quarterback last season in the NFL. And he started the majority of their games, and then they went to a third-round rookie in Ritter. And by DVOA, this was the 8th most efficient offense in the NFL last year. So, Arthur Smith does generally seem to find a way to make a productive offense. But at the same time, I share the frustration of you have these guys who, again, it's not like you're trying to scheme up scrubs. And it's if we just get him the ball, and it's then he gets 5 yards. No, you're talking about the most athletic tight end we may have ever seen. We're talking about a guy people talked who were saying generational running back in Bijan. And then Drake London, obviously pretty good based on what we saw last year. So, I'm torn because Smith's found some amount of results. But, the more top 10 picks you add to an offense, the more that is expected of that offense.
It's that simple. I'm sorry, it's that simple. Just tell me Ritter's not the guy, and I'll accept that you only used Bijan 10 carries and six passes. That's fine. But again, there's no coordinated effort to get your playmakers the ball, and that is why you're going to lose to the Packers next week. That is why when you play a good team, you will get exposed because you don't come up with plays for your playmakers. Kyle Pitts, bro. Drake London has 0 catches. 1 target. One target. Drake London, 1 target in a game against the Panthers. You can't tell me who was covering Drake London. And he had 1 target. When you don't get actual targets, that's a problem to me. 1 target. He's not playing Gilmore. He's not playing Diggs. He's not playing Sauce. I don't even know who he's playing. Is Horn even still there?
JC Horn is pretty good on the Panthers.
If he even there, though, and if JC's Horn there, who's he covering? Pitts or Drake? Who would you?
That's true. You can only cover 1. So that's
exactly. So again, it brings me back to my point. Why are they not getting the ball? I don't understand. And this man Ritter had 15 for 18. He dropped back 18 times, and between his 2 best targets, 4. No way. Unacceptable.
I do think it is pretty clear, though, that the fact that Bijan saw 6 of the 18 targets, that's a sign that your offensive line.
You got an unstoppable tight end. You can check down to him. And you got a 6'5" receiver. You can throw him up. You can throw him the ball up. All the times Hopkins, was a receiving option, and people just threw him the ball up. He's got the same build. He runs the same route tree too. Bro, this man wasted AJ Brown too. I'm not giving Arthur Smith no passes, man. I'm moving to the next game. Y'all right, man. I'm getting heated, man. We get too many of these people excuses, man. Too many excuses. Jaguars visited the Colts 31-21. 31-21 Jags. I almost got the backdoor cover. Anybody worried about Anthony Richardson? It was a cheap hit that took him out the game. I don't care what anybody says. And dude, Sunshine throws some great passes when he's not throwing to the other team.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was evidence of the Jaguars. There was some games where it was like, what the hell's going on? And then this game, for a moment, I was earlier on where it was like, oh, the Colts are winning. This is crazy. But then you think about it, it's like, well, the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is really good, but he still is prone to that one big mistake. And I don't think this is a very good defense for Jacksonville. So, that would be my one caveat to Anthony Richardson is he's going to face plenty of better defenses. But, I mean, yeah, for all the concern about him having 6 of 17 preseason games, when the lights were on, it actually mattered. He looked good. So that's the main takeaway for the Colts. I mean, that's the whole season. Is just you want to see Anthony Richardson progress. Nothing else really matters. So I'd say that's a win week 1 for them. Jacksonville, yeah, like I said, I've got some concerns about the defense, but I mean, again, based on what we saw of the Titans, Jacksonville should be cruising to another division title here. And yeah, it's just about, can Lawrence clean up those mistakes and really enter that upper echelon of QB? Or is he going to stay, I'd say right now he's in like the Dak zone for me, where I think good quarterback, be happy to have him on my team. Can we get that elevated where he can really go toe-to-toe with the top guys? Because if you're Dallas, I'm not that worried about it. I have an elite defense. The quarterback competition in my conference is pretty lacking. If I'm the Jags, I'm going to have to face a Mahomes, a Burrow, an Allen, a Rodgers, a Herbert, on and on. So he's going to have to be again, you got to wait with the 3-pick game last year in the playoffs because Charger's going to Charger. But yeah, I want to see him clean that up to really make this team interesting. Although Calvin Ridley, hey, welcome back.
Right? We've got 8 minutes, people. Relax. We're going to get there. The Cardinals visited Washington. Cardinals almost won. 16 points is what they scored, but they ended up going down because, well, the Commanders got 20. But what a weird game. I don't know. It felt like the Commanders were trying to find a way to lose that game. It shouldn't have been that competitive. Dobbs was really just a plug and play, and like even the team doesn't know why he's starting. So kind of strange to have that game be as competitive as it was, don't you think?
Yeah, you're glad you got the win if you're Washington, because obviously, hey, 1-0 is better than 0-1, especially if you're playing a team of the Cardinals level. But I mean, some concerns. Sam Howell's taken 6 sacks, and that's going to be a consistent problem. He took a lot of sacks in college. That's something that often translates to the NFL. So yeah, I would be concerned about anytime this team faces a capable defense. Are they going to be able to manufacture points? Cardinals, I mean, this is the Cardinals' goal, is competitive losses. That's their goal every single week. They want to suck. They're going to have the Texans pick 2. Great job, Cardinals. Washington, though, yeah, you got to – I don't know if Bieniemy just has to scheme up quicker plays to try and force Howell to get rid of the ball faster, but – I mean, that's why this game was close, is they had a strip sack fumble for a touchdown for the Cardinals. Otherwise, the Cardinals don't even score 10 points and you win this game easily. So that's what it's all about for Washington. And yeah, if you watched, the Cowboys play, or if you remember that the Eagles had 70 sacks last season, it's going to be rough if you don't figure something out there.
Yeah. Competitive losses. Las Vegas Raiders, almost called them Los Angeles. Las Vegas Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo's inaugural game there, 17-16 over the hapless Broncos. Just can't get right. Sean Payton starting the game out with a onside kick. Let me know what I was in for.
You didn't like that call?
No, it's the dumbest thing ever, man. It didn't work the last time he tried it either, but go figure.
When it works in the Super Bowl, it's hard to quit it. I think that's the whole thing with him.
Yeah, but this ain't the Super Bowl, buddy, and neither is the talent on this team. So you should probably kick it off and play the field position game.
I mean, yeah, I think it's more excusable if you're trying to prevent Peyton Manning from getting the ball than it is trying to prevent Jimmy G. Although Jimmy G, if he's on the field, he remains blessed. His teams find a way to win, whether that's because of him, in spite of him, whatever it is, just keeps happening. I don't know. Russell Wilson looked all right in this game. It wasn't.
He looked efficient, but he's
right.
He's no longer the game
Yeah,
game
I think
player or the playmaker. Sorry, he's no longer the playmaker.
playmaker.
And he obviously was lacking in talent at the receiving core because of the injuries there.
Yes.
And I think that's what ultimately showed. Like he was much more efficient, and they actually got plays run off
on time.
And I even chuckled. Same situation, 4th and short, and they still opted to kick a field goal and missed it. So I don't know what's going on in Denver, but it looked a little bit better. And again, it's just game 1, but result wise, I'm not sure if it changes anything for their overall look this year.
Yeah, obviously, if you get Jerry Jeudy back, who I think is clearly the best receiver on this team, assuming I would say hamstring, so that can linger, but assuming he comes back, he can be healthy. This offense should continue to improve because, I think it looks like a legitimate NFL coached offense, which is a change from last year.
Mm-hmm.
For the Raiders, Jacoby Myers, he was awesome. Caught 9 of 10, 2 touchdowns. My brother's a Patriots fan. He was watching Jacoby. He was watching Juju for the Patriots, and he was lamenting that swap that they made. But, Raiders, a team that lost a lot of close games last year, pull one out here. We'll see if they can. I mean, I just think when you look at both these teams, I think they're both fine. I don't think either one's bad. But, I mean, there's like 10 good teams in the AFC. Both of these could be playoff teams in the NFC. I'd be like, sure, real chance. As is, it's kind of like these are probably 6 to 8 win teams. But hey, again, if you start 1-0, good for you, Raiders. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. But I just think these are 2 okay teams.
All right, we got 5 minutes left, so you're gonna do one-liners until we get to this Giants game because everybody won't give you the floor. All right, one-liner: Dolphins 36, Chargers 34. Haha, Staley loss. One-liner.
I mean, Tyreek Hill. Sorry, Justin Jefferson. I think Tyreek Hill is the best receiver in the NFL.
We'll talk about that later. Eagles 25, Patriots 20.
My biggest takeaway here is the Patriots had a not totally dissimilar start to the New York Giants. The Patriots ended up losing by 5 points. So, again, Bill Belichick, great job. That defense remains very good, but they can't get away with the mistakes on offense. Eagles, I mean, it's a road win against a pretty good team, I think. It's not the best, but you did fine.
Packers, surprising to some, 38, Bears 20.
Yes, slow your roll on the Justin Fields MVP bet.
I knew you was going to say something like that.
Listen, I think Fields looked okay-ish in this game.
He looked terrible.
They're just Aaron Jones still has it. I hope his whatever he came up lame in the end zone there. I hope he's all right. He looked awesome. Jordan Love. Well, I'm going to hold off on giving him any love. I think he was fine in this game. I want to see him against better defenses than what the Bears are rolling out.
Look at you trying to be punny. I can't wait till we get to this last game. Rams 30, Seahawks 13. What's your take on that?
This is one of the bigger surprises for me. You got no Cooper Kupp. I'm figuring as much as I respect McVay and Stafford when he's healthy, which he appears to be, thought they would struggle to move the ball. Instead, they found a guy I had legitimately never freaking heard of to catch, 9 passes? Puka Nacua, 10 for 119. Yeah, the Rams, just a testament to their coaching, especially on defense as well, because I don't think outside of Aaron Donald, there's a lot of talent. So love to their coaches. Seattle, I think you're in the get ready to drop back and be one of the playoff teams that misses this year.
Just want to take a moment real quick to say in your fucking face, Ronnie, that's what Stafford does. All right. And lastly, please, the floor is yours. You're going to close us out. The Cowboys 40 And I'm not sure if there was another team on the sideline or not, but they were in blue and they had NY on their helmets. What is your final parting words on this absolutely embarrassing loss that your team took in division in prime time? Why did you guys get the lesser version of Kirk Cousins when it comes to primetime games? Let us know.
I mean, if there was a way to score negative points, I think the Giants would have done it last night. The weirdest thing for me, the more I thought about this game, is we've seen games that are more or less on this level. Again, we saw the Broncos lose to a bad Rams team last year by 40 points. But that was the game that got their coach fired because everything was clearly a disaster. That's the weird part for this one is you have the coach of the year who I think everyone respects. I don't think anyone's like, that was a total fluke. And we lost 2 one-score games to the Cowboys last year. I wouldn't necessarily say they were super close games, but we were within striking distance. I don't know what's going on with the Giants. They'll play the Cardinals this week, so we'll find out if this is a team that's truly bottoming out. But I think it's a combo. I think this is a team where I thought we'd still be okay this year, but I thought this was going to be a 7-8 win team, which is what we should have been last year. Well, to be fair to Daniel Jones, we saw a comment. He's clearly lesser than Kirk. First of all, yes, Kirk Cousins is a quarterback I'd rank higher than Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins would have been fucked last night because he can't run. The most comparable game I could think of, based on what Daniel Jones was seeing pass rush wise, was the Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl, where the Chiefs had like no starters in their offensive line against a ferocious defensive line. And Patrick Mahomes found a way to still manufacture some plays because he might be the greatest quarterback of all time. Daniel Jones is, I think, an okay quarterback. If you have an okay quarterback and you're up against what he was up against last night, you're done. And credit to the Cowboys. I think this defense, Stephon Gilmore, that was the worst decision Jones made last night was the throw to Gilmore they picked off. That was still a really impressive interception. This defense, you had him on. I think the Cowboys, I'm on board. Best defense in the NFL.
All right, so we had a name change. We had a name change just now, and we're going to run with this next week, Joe and 1. But I want to edit that 1 to have as many points as you guys scored. So that is actually a 0. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will make sure we get done before kickoff next week. Kickoff is probably going on right now. Joe, thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week. Tonight I've got the Jets money line, but after I got upset like that at Jermaine, I'm probably going to lose. Got to put a lot of negative energy into the universe. But fuck Arthur Smith. Done with that dude. All right, who you got?
I'm going Jets as well.
All right. Dog, God, that makes me sick to my stomach. I hope one team from New York shows up. It's 9/11.
On 9/11. Come on.
Yeah, I know. You got to give me something.
City of New York will win.
You my boy, Jerry. You my boy. All right. Well, thank you again, Joe. And we'll be back next week.